there's a whole lot of things that come to mind when you hear that name, Margaret Olley. There's this incredible universal language in the genre of still life, and the fact that she brings humanity to these utilitarian objects, these sort of really everyday, ordinary scenes, but she grabs hold of a moment, captures it, and puts this incredible layer of humanity onto it. And I think people really connect to that kind of vision. It's very poetic, but it's really connected to our everyday life. There's also Margaret Olley, the public personality, and I think people bring that sense of character when they come to look at the work. And in this instance, we're so lucky to have the recreation of part of her home studio at the heart of this centre.
I would like to welcome Their Excellencies, the Honourable Quentin Bryce, Governor-General of the Commonwealth of Australia, and Mr Michael Bryce. I extend a warm welcome also to members of Margaret Olley's family who are with us today.
I'll begin with a traditional welcome from the Bundjalung elders. Bundjalung Jalang, Nalina Jangan, Naligama Malayangan, Wanga Jama Maligango Gala, Naligama Jalawangangala, Nalina Malijangan.
I acknowledge the traditional keepers of this magnificent land. I am most complimented by your invitation to open the Margaret Olley Art Centre in your beautiful Tweed Regional Gallery. We have watched its development since Doug and Margot Anthony gave the land from their dairy farm. At the opening of Stage 2 in 2006, Margaret Olley was guest of honour. The gallery made a deep impression on her. Its elegant architecture, its setting in gentle curves of the countryside she'd always loved. The Tweed is really where my childhood began, she recalled, in evocative reminiscence with Meg Stewart.
The lunch was, of course, at Margaret's home in Duxton Street, Paddington. That home is now the heart of the Margaret Olley Centre. The table at which we dined is now here. So are the plates and the utensils. So are the cigarette packets and the drinks. So perfect has the recreation of that room been that you expect to see Margaret, cigarette in hand, coming around the corner at any moment.
I must pay particular and a tribute to the amazing generosity and foresight of the Tweed Council, who recognised early the value of this project and have supported it to the hilt. The Foundation and the Friends of the Gallery have been extraordinarily supportive, as have local donors and Margaret's friends from far and wide. It's especially touching for me that my friends Tim and Gina Fairfax are here to see the Nancy Fairfax Artist-in-Residence studio in use for the first time. Tim's mother, Lady Nancy Fairfax, was a great friend of Margaret's, and it is just so perfect that their names are here together, side by side. And I haven't mentioned this yet to Susie, but we have to think of a position for the yet-to-be-built Margaret Olley Memorial Garden, and I think it should be just down here by the entrance to the studio. They both love gardens so much it seems right that they should be together.
Margaret's wish was for her rooms to be transported here to the Tweed Regional Gallery, and the result is the Margaret Olley Art Centre. This is her true memorial.
Well, this project is more like the power of a great idea, one that's unstoppable and full of excitement. Well, that's what this project is, and it's been that way since day one. When Susie, Barry, Warren, Mike and David came to see me in 2011 about accessing $1 million in federal funding, I knew the power of this great idea would be understood and embraced. And it was.
The balance of funding, which is around about $1.2 million needed to complete this beautiful work of art, was provided by the ratepayers of the Tweed Shire. I think a relatively small investment in such a significant national and, dare I say, an international attraction for the Tweed, which is going to provide social and economic benefit to our residents for many years to come.
This recreation was indeed no task for the faint-hearted, but certainly one for the warm-hearted. The Margaret Olley Art Centre is a testimony to a life well lived and the abiding love and admiration of a nation. Welcome home to the Tweed, Margaret.
And we must also acknowledge the commitment made by many members of the foundation who gave us funds to support this magnificent Stage 3 building. We acknowledge your support and we thank you deeply for what you've contributed.
The generosity of individuals and families never ceases to amaze me, and it is testament to the public's love of Margaret and her artistic practice that has driven this major project forward. I know that Margaret's paintings will provide inspiration for generations of artists to come, and to the gallery in curating future exhibitions and public programs which will focus on Margaret's work in its broader context in Australian and international art history. Likewise, I know that the Nancy Fairfax Artist in Residence Studio program will continue Margaret's mentoring and support of Australian artists, adding longevity and momentum to the gallery's programs. Thank you everyone for your support and for making this day a true celebration. Thank you.
The home studio is so famous for its incredible interior. It's got such a dramatic, we call Olley orange walls, and it's like working in the recreation. I've come to really realise it's a bit like a theatre set. The light is quite dramatic. She always sort of control the light. She's setting up scenes as you go through the space. The colour, like I mentioned. So it has this incredible atmosphere that is quite extraordinary to most of our, home lives. On one hand, there are a lot of people here today that knew Margaret Olley, not just for a short time, but the Governor-General has known her, I think, for almost 50 years. So there are long, strong connections to Margaret Olley, the person, and then there are long, strong connections to Margaret Olley through her work. It looks like chaos when you first look at it, but as your eyes adjust, as your sense of perspective adjusts, you actually start to realise that you're looking at a whole lot of still lifes set up, ready to be painted, ready to be revisited when the light moves through the day, when the light changes across the season. And that's why it's really important to remember that the Hat Factory, Duxford Street, was a home studio, and she described every room as a studio first and foremost, before it being, a domestic sort of home.
What was it like today for you as a volunteer?
It was fantastic, and I think it's wonderful. The staff and the friends of the gallery and all the volunteers have done a great job.
Her bric-a-brac and her paint and just feel the sort of trembling kind of presence that still abounds.
I love the humble little kitchen.
Yes, it's a little bit too tidy.
Someone else said that.
I don't think I ever saw the bench top.
Post-event, I'm so happy that everyone has enjoyed themselves so much, and that their reaction to what we've tried to recreate here has been so positive. It's really gratifying that we've managed to pull it off. I couldn't be happier.